I will first be covering the Ice&Fire Bestiary and then move on to the Lycanites Bestiary because it takes a lot longer. So, manuscripts. You may have found a couple of them once you've raided a dragon nest. It's a bit of a bad design because you're not going to anger a dragon early on in the game, and that's pretty much the only time when you're going to need the information and tutorial that is given to you inside of the bestiary. But, well, regardless. So, if you find 3 of these manuscripts, we can build a Ice&Fire Bestiary. Now, once you open this up, it's going to give you the basic introduction to the various ores and stuff in the Ice&Fire mod. But there's no actual descriptions of creatures, as the name would imply. Well, this is because it requires an extra step. You're going to need to build this, a Lectern. The Lectern is crafted like so. Pretty cheap, but the manuscripts aren't. So once you've got your Lectern, it's quite straightforward. You simply place your bestiary in the left slot, place 1 manuscript here, and as time goes on, it will start decoding this manuscript that you've added to the bestiary. Bam! Now, as you can see, it contains Fire Dragon. This means we have an added creature entry in our bestiary. These are very well made, so it's a real shame they made it so hard to use, since you're only going to get manuscripts from a dragon's lair. The added article is random, so if you're going to want to find out all the bestiary entries, you are going to want to repeat this process and get more manuscripts. But I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'll just leave it at that. On to the Lycanites Bestiary. The starting default hotkey for it is G. This will open the index of the bestiary. Now, first of all, I suggest that you change that, because you're not going to want to open the index quickly. You don't really care, it doesn't have much information that you're going to actually want to have in the game. And since the button is not toggle, you cannot turn off the bestiary with the same button you've turned it on, and you'll have to always click S. Go into Options, Controls, scroll down to the bottom, and here you can see this is the standard bestiary opening. This is to open the index, but what I suggest you memorize is to open one of its tabs, which happens to be Pets. Now, you can also open the Summoning tab, but in my opinion, the Pets tab is the most important. So you click the hotkey and wow, bam, we've already got the selected Pets tab. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. As you might have seen, there are several tabs. Now, the Creatures tab will give you a list of all the subcategories with the listed creatures of said category within them. If you were to click on the creature, you will see the pretty nice animation of the creature. The element of the creature is an arbor element. The price to summon this creature, and my knowledge rank of this creature. Now, with only a knowledge rank 1, this means I've simply encountered the creature, and this will simply give me a summary of it. If I wanted to know more information about this creature, I'm going to have to increase my knowledge rank. Now, in this case, a knowledge rank of 2 is enough to know everything about it. There are several ways for getting the knowledge rank. You can either kill this creature, potentially multiple times, or you craft a soul gazer. Now, soul gazers are crafted like this. If you were to right click with your soul gazer onto a creature, it will increase your knowledge of said creature. Now, not every creature is summonable. Most elementals are, but only the basic elementals. For example, here you can see that I have several elementals here, but in my summoning tab I can only see an Aegis and a Djinn. This is because these are my only 2 basic elementals. The rest are all considered para-elementals. Now, if I wanted to summon a para-elemental, I'm going to need to merge my basic elementals. The proper term for this would be elemental fusing. So let's take the nymph as example. We've seen that we have it in our bestiary, but we cannot summon it. The nymph gets created if you merge a basic element of order, the Aegis, and a basic element of water, the Jenga. Now, you might have also noticed that I do not have the Jenga in my elemental list. If I were to summon a Jenga, now this is a cheated spawn egg. Oh, I'm in survival, forgot about that. But our knowledge rank of the Jenga is of level 1. If we wanted to know more information about the Jenga, if we right click with the Soul Gazer, we are now knowledge rank 2. As you may have noticed, having used the Soul Gazer also unlocked the various subforms of the Jengu. I want you to focus on this summoning tab. Now, if I were to select an empty slot and simply press on one of the summoning, I'll be selecting it and placing it into that said slot. Like so. Now, if you go into controls, scroll down, you can find minion selection. Now, I set it to mouse button 5, but you can set it to whatever you want. It is not toggle. So once you open it, you're going to have to press escape to close it. Same with the bestiary. But pretty much, Pressing it opens that same summoning menu. In order to summon a nymph that was seen before, we're going to need to combine a Aegis, an element of order, and it's better if I do this in survival, since you can actually see me using the focus. Each summoning has this focus price, as I said before. Now if I were to now summon a Jengu, you can see that it merged, but do notice that standard summoned creatures are of level 1. You can see he has nothing in particular. But this nymph is level 2. Reason being, if you fuse 2 level 1 summons, they become level 2. Now having a higher level summon, this also counts for pets, obviously, not only summonings, grants various buffs. One of them being a collateral of them having a larger size. If you compare it to this ordinary nymph, it's dark, so it's just a coloration variant. But in terms of size, our nymph, which is level 2, is, I'd say, twice the size of this standard nymph. But it's not just size that changes. Each level gives your creature 1% more attack speed, 2% more damage, 1% defense if applicable, because some summons might simply not have any armor, 2% effective length if it's applicable, 10% health, 1% projectile speed if it fires projectiles, and 1% movement speed. A lot of creatures do not increase in size if they are of higher level. Now another important tab is actually the elements tab. You might not need to use this much, but it's mostly just documentation. It lets you know what type of element does what. Now the arbor element that we've seen before in the creatures tab, from that insect, you can see that the beneficial effects are these and detrimental effects are these. This means that if you wanted to use a Lycanite's arm, like one of those weapon pieces, that is of an arbor elemental creature, these are potential buffs you'd get from them if they were like in a jewel slot. Detrimental effects if it were, for example, a blade type. You can use this as documentation to decide on what type of weapon to build. I won't be covering those because they get quite complicated and this video is already quite long enough. To the pets tab, which is the main feature that you'd want to notice. Now, as you saw before, the pets tab was empty because we had no pets at the moment. But as soon as you add a pet, these extra 3 tabs will be added. The Pets tab, Mounts tab, and Familiars. Familiars are only for donators to the Lycanites developer, so unless you intend on donating to him, you're not going to need this tab. Mounts are all the pets that you can actually ride on. This means you can equip a saddle on them, and yeah, you can mount them. And Pets are, however, not mountable. Now, how do you get a pet? First of all, you're going to need to feed them with treats. Now, as you can see, there are various types of treats, but the type of treat you need to use to tame the type of Lycanite creature is based upon its subcategory. So let's say we look at creatures, right? And we say, okay, we want to tame a shade. How do we tame a shade? We use an aberration treat. We have this insect, we want to tame this guy. How do we tame him? We need an arthropod treat. When to tame a quill beast, we need a beast treat, and so forth. Now let's use the quill beast as example since we do not have him yet. Now I'm just going to spawn one in for convenience, and he's actually passive, like he's generous enough, so by right clicking we'll be feeding him. The chance of them being tamed is random, so sometimes they're going to want a lot. And okay, he's finally tamed. Side effect of taming creatures is that you will automatically also gain knowledge rank 2. If you actually look in the pets, because it's not mountable, you do not see the quill beast. Reason is because this tab only shows pets that have been soulbound and therefore are summonable. This creature, instead, is not soulbound, and therefore, if we tell him to sit, he will stay here, and he's pretty much like a vanilla dog. If we, however, want to have him in our Pets tab, we need to soulbind him. Now, they are soulbound with the soul stone. Soul stones are crafted like this. Now, keep in mind, the soul gazer does not get consumed, so do not worry about it. Soul gazers crafted like this. But you might also notice that there are a lot of different types of soul stones. The only one you're going to need to care about is the default soul stone. These are all pre-infused soul stones. Once you right click them, they will give you a random creature of that subcategory, for example beast subcategory, and it will automatically be tamed and soulbound. These types of soul stones are found by killing Lycanite bosses of the according subcategory. So if you kill a beast mini boss or boss, you're going to get beast soul stones. Now these soul stones aren't actually as useful as they might sound, because each and every one of these automatically tamed and soulbound pets will always be level 1, and as you've seen, having them of higher level actually increases their stats by a substantial amount. Currently, as of now, I also find only level 1 creatures, but as time passes, creatures in the environment will always be higher level, and this implies that you're better off trying to tame a wild creature that is, say, level 2 or level 3, rather than actually getting one automatically soulbound. Once we finally soulbind this Quillbeast, you'll see that he's now in our little pets menu and can be dismissed and be summoned. Now even here you have spirit. Now this is different from the summoning tab because this is focus, and this instead is spirit. So each creature has a set amount of spirit cost. Differently from summons, this price is a locked amount. So say we summon a Quillbeast, just for convenience, we're going to see that these 4 slots are locked and the spirit is not regenerating. This means that potentially we can only have an amount of pets that is equivalent to 10 in price. For example, a Quillbeast, a Chupacabra, and then a Gnekk. And like this, we'll have 0 focus left, and we are using as efficiently as possible all our spirit. As soon as we dismiss our Quillbeast, you can see that it is slowly regenerating. So it does regenerate, it simply gets locked out. Each pet and mount can be divided into 3 subcategories. Now these are just subjective subcategories, they do not actually have a subcategory. And this would be a flight pet, because it's a pet that can fly, and this is a very useful feature because, well, yeah, who doesn't want to fly? Combat pets and utility pets, this being either pets that can offer you something like a lot of inventory space, or pets that have a high movement speed so are good for traveling. And when it comes to flying pets, the norm is that they have extremely high prices. It's because the game doesn't want you to be able to have a flying pet and other pets together with it. The best and go-to flying mount is the Morock, and it's a dragon. So you're going to need a dragon trait to tame them. If you equip them with a saddle, you can fly. Now the reason why the Morock is considered the best flying mount is because it has the highest mobility of all flying mounts, so it's ideal for traveling, but you may also have noticed they have huge amounts of health, 133. So they are pretty much amazing for fighting dragons because they will not die. But obviously you're not going to get a Morock straight off the bat. I'm simply saying that the Morock is the best flying mount that you can get, at least when it comes to speed and travel. The second best flying mount, in my opinion, is the Quetzodracl. The Quetzodracl is very nice because it does have a average speed for a flying mount, but it has an ability of picking up mobs. If you want to create a pet farm, for example a farm of lions, we can pick up a mob when using the creature's ability, and we can also release the mob. Now this is useful because if, say, you want to create some kind of farm, or you want to move villagers, you can pick them up easily with this mount and place them elsewhere. Now the standard key for the mount ability, I believe, is X, but you're gonna have to check your controls just for safety. But I suggest that you change it because the default key is rather inconvenient. I would change it to the same key you use as sprinting. This is because you cannot sprint when on a mount, so the keys will not overlap. It's a easy to access key because you're obviously going to use a very simple to press button to sprint, and also because a lot of the abilities of mounts, for example in the case of the Morock, is a dash ability or a movement speed ability, so it goes hand in hand with the mentality of sprint. Now both the Morock and Quetzodracl, although I'd say they are the 2 best flying mounts, are obviously not creatures you're going to find very early in the game. The Morock, you can find them in plains, so it's pretty simple, but he's a dragon, and the Quetzodracl, even worse, is found in oceans, or at least in the sea, so it's not something you can do early in the game. And here comes the Rock. The Rock is a very simple flying creature that you can find also in the plains, as long as you're exploring in the night. Same goes with the Morock and the Quetzodracl, they only spawn in the night. Now these are convenient because I'd assume they'd be the first flying mount that you'll ever get in the game. Most pets can be equipped with a chest, but every pet can be equipped with armor. You're going to have to use horse armor, dog armor does not work. The Rock has an extremely small amount of health, so it's mostly only going to be your go-to mount for the beginning of the game if you want to fly. But it's very risky if you want to fight a dragon in a Rock, because they're probably going to die in one hit, and if that happens you're going to fall off the mount and potentially die. Now just as the Quetzodracl, also the Rock has the ability of grabbing creatures. You can see we've grabbed the nymph. So it would go without saying that the Quetzodracl is pretty much the upgraded version of a Rock. Now there is also one last flying mount that I'd like to cover, and it's the Cacodemon. It's obviously not a mount that you can get early on in the game because it's in the Nether, and that's a very dangerous place, but as you can notice, he's the only exception out of flying mobs that costs less. Do you notice that he only costs 2 compared to all the huge prices? This makes him extremely valuable because, look, he has a decent amount of health. His speed, I'd say, is pretty much the same as a rock. His ability is to spit fireballs, so it's also useful in combat. You might not want to have him assisting you in combat since he's going to blow up the environment. What I'd say he excels at is fighting dragons, because thanks to its low price, you can also summon a powerful combat pet. And since he is a small mount and doesn't occupy your entire vision, you can easily use your bow while mounting him. His health is decent enough to not die instantly in one hit. If you ever get hurt and your pet, you can summon a nymph and the nymph will both heal you and your mount. So I'd say in terms of combat, the Cacodemon is the go-to. Now you might notice that I have 2 Cacodemons as my pets. This is because this Cacodemon here is a violet Cacodemon. What I intend to do with this example is that you can summon different colorations of creatures and they will be differentiated in your bestiary. So do not worry, you can have multiple of the same creature, even if they are the same color. If however it gets too cluttered and you'd like to get rid of them, you can always do release. Ask for confirmation, but now he is no longer our pet and we no longer have him here to clutter our list. Obviously these are the same settings that you can use both on summonings, so I would suggest putting them on aggressive, unless it's a Cacodemon that has explosive bullets, so you'd probably want to put them on passive, because yeah, you'd rather not have him blow up stuff. This is to dismiss him, and when he gets dismissed, the mana gets released, so avoid pressing this by mistake when it comes to flying mount, because they are expensive and you won't be able to summon them again. This is to teleport them to your location without needing to resummon them, as you can see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, an alternative to the Cacodemon when it comes to like its combat capabilities is the Epion, this bat-like creature. Now the Epion, I'd say, is an alternative. He's clearly worse and only fires this type of bullet. It's still useful for combat capabilities, but you obviously don't have to go to the nether to tame them. And he's good because, just like the Cacodemon, he does not occupy much of your screen, so you can easily fire your bow at dragons and other enemies that you'd like to fight. Now I'd say that covers all the flying mounts that you'd be interested in. Now when it comes to combat pets, however, there's a large list. Now in my opinion, and hands down I'd say, even though some people do not agree on this, the #1 best combat pet that you'd ever want to have is the Ventoraptor. This guy. Now he is amazing because he has a decent amount of health. You can obviously equip armor on them. They have a decent amount of inventory space. Now he is the go-to mount when it comes to ground, because not only does he have insane speeds, his ability is a dash, which goes extremely far. Now do notice that if you're simply walking on the ground and sprinting, he doesn't go that far. This is also a useful example. Both Uvaraptors and Ventoraptors are immune to fall damage, so thanks to me riding the Ventoraptor, I took absolutely no damage from falling into this cave. Now, what I was trying to say before is that if you simply press their ability of dash, while on the ground they're going to leap and go a bit forward. But if you jump and then press the dash ability, you'll go insanely fast. So these are very fun to travel with. And I'd even go to say that they are faster than the Morock, only difference being that since they can't fly, you'll get stuck on stuff, so they're less nice. Now, the reason why I think that they are the best combat pet is they're very fast, so they will very quickly engage all enemies in your vicinity. Now, similar to the Ventoraptor is the Uvaraptor. Now, the Uvaraptor is more powerful in terms of combat than the Ventoraptor, but their dash ability is more lacking. It doesn't go as far, so in terms of travel, it is worse. But if you're seeking a combat pet, you're better off with a Uvaraptor. Now, the only issue with both Ventoraptors and Uvaraptors is that they are very large. So when it comes to maybe fighting in a cave or in a dungeon that doesn't have a lot of space, it might be problematic because they'll be covering your entire view. If you're not bothered by that, a great addition is also a Warg. I'd say these are the second best combat pet. Reason being, they're not particularly special, neither as a mount. They're very slow, nothing special. They do have a dash ability, but it's also rather lacking, at least compared to the Ventoraptor. What makes them good is, well, they inflict a paralyzing status effect to the creatures they attack. And paralysis, as the name suggests, paralyzes its foe, making them unable to move. So yes, it's a rather desirable effect to have on your enemies. Another great combat pet, in my opinion, is the Pinky. Now, he might look rather lacking in terms of speed, but he's very powerful and has a decent amount of health. Main downside with the Pinky is that they are rather large. The reason I'd say they're one of the most useful is because they, as a nether creature, have immunity to fire. First of all, if you're fighting in the nether, your go-to mount isn't going to be a Ventoraptor, but a Pinky. And additionally, just by riding the Pinky, I was being given a fire resistance alternative to the Pinky when fighting a lava environment. Also, because it only costs 4, it's to also bring along a Salamander. Just like the Pinky, the Salamander is immune to fire. A good thing about Salamanders is that they are ranged, and their projectile sets enemies on fire, so that's also nice to notice. If we are not fighting in a lava environment, the Eyewig is also one of the more interesting mobs, because he is partially ranged. He has this laser, but he also likes to fight in close quarters. But what makes the Eyewig a desirable mount, even though they have rather lacking amounts of health, is because their laser blinds the enemies. As you'd expect, a blind enemy is probably not going to attack you. Next in the list, I would put Shades. Now, Shades are very nice mounts. They have insane amounts of health, and they're great all round. They even have a lot of inventory space. But the reason I do not put him in second place with Warg is because they are very large. So they are definitely not going to be suitable for fighting in a cavern. But if in your case you are not fighting in a cavern or in a small space, the Shade is a great pet to have. Now, when it comes to the best combat pet in the sea, obviously the best choice is the Thresher. Look at this beast. Look at his sheer size. So I'd say it goes without saying that he has amazing combat capabilities. He has outstanding health. Just like any mount, any sea creature mount, once mounted you automatically get a water breathing effect, pretty much like the fire resistance with the lava creatures. But he's good in combat because his ability is this whirlpool effect. This will suck in any enemy, like that squid. Not sure if you saw it. This is great because it will help get enemies away from you and towards your pet. Now, Threshers are kind of hard to come by, and they're not that fast. So when it comes to combat pet, he is the go-to. But if you want a mobility pet, there aren't any especially fast pets, unfortunately. But I would say the best alternative and easy to find is the Ioray. They are decently fast, easy to come by, and they have a ranged attack, so it's always useful. There are also some special combat pets. I'm saying special because they are not necessarily great in combat, but they have an ability that makes them desirable. These being the Chupacabra. His main downside is because he costs 4, which is just as much as any other Warg, Shade, or other large and powerful combat pet. They are not mountable. But their advantage is that they are small, so if you want to fight in a small space, in a small cave, and you don't want anything occupying your line of sight, and this guy's trying to cross team over here, but if you have nothing trying to obstruct your line of sight, they are the go-to, and they are decently powerful, and decently fast, so they're nice, but they are expensive. The second best choice is the Gnekk. They are amazing because all imp creatures only cost 2 to summon. And as you've noticed, there are a lot of pets that always cost 4 or 8. This means that you will always have an extra amount of spirit of 2. And this space can be filled by a imp. Now, there are several types of imps, but the best one, in my opinion, is the Gnekk, because they will not apply any status effects on the environment, for example, lighting it on fire. The Gnekk will simply bite its foes, and additionally, what makes him great is that he inflicts several status effects that damage the opponent. So I would say he's the best imp to have for combat. Passing on to utility pets, I would say that the best utility pet is the Strider. Reason being that this Strider has a enormous inventory space and only costs 4. So say your inventory is full, summon the Strider, fill his inventory, and then dismissed. And all the things that you can fill his inventory with are safe. Now, when it comes to the utility of speed, so traveling, we've already listed them, but I'll just quickly go over them again. Morock They are the best mobility when you want to fly, but I'd say they are the best mobility all around because flight allows you to overcome many obstacles like oceans and mountains. The actual fastest mob in the game is the Ventoraptor, but they are limited to only ground movement and will be obstructed by the sea and by mountains and other obstacles. The sea isn't that big of a problem because their dash ability allows them to sort of glide through the air, so they can somewhat move quickly in the water. When it comes to speed in the water, the Ioray is the go-to strategy, even though there is no actual very fast sea-moving creature. And when it comes to mobility in a lava environment, the go-to is the Pinky. If you found this guide useful, please like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.